Sign the parking lot permit, Colton. Get it over with. The door slammed hard enough to shake the house. Vesper stood there, smirking with that smug little grin of hers. It all started when I roared into the driveway, eyes bloodshot, staring at the wreckage of my family's field. Potatoes crushed flat, tire tracks gouged deep into the land my grandfather left me. Get every last car off my property before dark, I growled, and pay for all the damage. Soren, that lawyer creep, stepped forward. The HOA's already decided. This land belongs to the community, and if I don't sign, I snapped. Lennox, the city council jerk, cut in. Don't be stubborn. We've got ways to handle this. I held up my papers, smirking right back. No contract says you can park here, but I've got something better. The transformer powering your whole neighborhood? It's on my land. Vesper's face went pale. You wouldn't dare, she shrieked. Those were fighting words from Vesper, HOA president, bold enough to challenge me after everything she'd done to trample my rights. Ever been backed into a corner like that? Let me tell you my story, what I've had to endure, because she messed with the wrong guy. Leave a comment with the number 9 so I know you're ready to hear it. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss the tension still waiting ahead. Wishing you a peaceful day. I'm Zephyr Colton, 34 years old, a farmer born and raised in the quiet countryside of Ravenwood County. My job? Tending the 15-acre plot my family's owned for generations. This farm isn't just where I live. It's my blood, my memories, my pride handed down from my grandfather 5 years ago when he passed. I never thought I'd be fighting strangers who call themselves neighbors, but everything changed one morning I'll never forget. I found out the Emberfall Bluffs Homeowners Association from the nearby subdivision had turned my family's farm into their personal parking lot, without even asking. What they didn't see coming? I hold the power line feeding their entire neighborhood. What would you do if you knew your annoying neighbors relied on your land to keep their lights on? I never imagined I'd have to battle it out with them, but that's exactly what happened when I was jolted awake by roaring engines and slamming car doors at 5:30 in the morning on a Sunday that was supposed to be peaceful. My grandfather's log house has stood proud on this land for over 60 years, long before those fancy houses sprang up around us. This isn't just dirt to me. It's my past, my future, and my daily joy. I threw on a robe and rushed outside, still in my pajamas. What I saw stopped me cold, then lit a fire in me. More than 20 cars were lined up neat as you please on my west field, where I'd planned to plant beans later this month. A woman in a red coat, hair all prim and proper, was waving more cars in like she owned the place. She clutched a clipboard and flashed a fake, self-satisfied smile. Hey, what are you doing? I yelled, stomping across the grass with my old sheepdog Sage barking up a storm beside me. The woman turned, clearly annoyed I'd interrupted her. Good morning, she said, her tone all sugary but hollow. I'm Vesper Langley, president of the Emberfall Bluffs Homeowners Association. I don't care who you are, I shot back, fighting to keep my cool even though I was boiling inside. This is my private property. You're trespassing. Vesper tilted her head, eyeing me like I was the one confused. Oh, it seems you're mistaken. This area has been designated as our overflow parking in the HOA bylaws. She glanced at her clipboard. You're Colton, right? The one in that old log house? We've tried reaching out to invite you to join us. I'm not mistaken about anything. I never signed a damn thing with your HOA, I said, pulling out my phone to show a digital copy of my deed. This land's been in my family for generations. We're not part of your subdivision. Vesper's smile flickered for a second. Actually, this spot's been used for parking for a while now. The previous board must have worked it out with your grandfather. My grandfather would never have agreed to this, I said, my voice firm as iron. He taught me to cherish every inch of this place. By now, a few neighbors had gathered, watching the showdown with curiosity. Some looked sheepish. Others were just ticked off about the delay. A guy in workout gear shouted, "Hurry it up! We've got a basketball tournament to get to." Then I spotted something that made the parking mess slip my mind. A big truck was backing toward my rear field, heading straight for the carrot beds I'd spent 2 months nurturing. "Stop that truck right now," I bellowed, charging forward. "You're ruining my crops!" The driver saw me flailing and hit the brakes, stopping inches from the rows. He rolled down his window. The lady at the gate told me to park the big rigs back here. I spun around. Vesper was right behind me, her face red with fury. "Colton, you're overreacting. We've got a community basketball tournament today, and this is our designated overflow parking." "Designated by who?" I demanded. "Show me one document with my signature on it. Our community bylaws clearly state..." "I'm not in your community," I cut her off. You've got exactly 2 hours to clear every car off my land, or I'm calling the sheriff and having them all towed, at your expense. Vesper narrowed her eyes. You wouldn't dare. I held up my phone. Try me. She suddenly grabbed my wrist. Listen close. Emberfall Bluffs has the deputy mayor, 3 city council members, and Judge Thaddeus on our side. Who do you think the sheriff's gonna back? A bunch of respected leaders or some stubborn farmer like you? I yanked my arm free. Get your hands off me. This isn't just trespassing anymore. It's assault. The neighbors had crept closer, close enough to hear every word. An older man stepped up, his voice shaky with concern. Vesper, if this really is his land, maybe we should just move the cars. This is HOA property now, Vesper snapped, her tone sharp as a blade. And everyone can thank Colton here when they're late for the tournament tip-off. Right then, a shiny white SUV rolled up, and a guy in an expensive suit stepped out, his face all business. He marched straight to Vesper, ignoring me completely. What's going on? He asked, his voice low and commanding. Vesper grinned like she'd been saved. Perfect timing, Soren. Our friend here doesn't seem to grasp the parking arrangement. Soren turned to me, extending a hand with easy confidence. Soren Hadley, HOA attorney. And you are the legal owner of the land you're all trespassing on, I said, not bothering to shake. He kept that smile plastered on his face, not even flinching. I get it if you're confused. The land use agreement letting the community park here? It's been in place for years. I've got a copy back at the office. An agreement I never signed, I said, my voice sharp and unwavering. Show me the papers, right now. We can talk this out like civilized people, Soren replied, putting on that fake, gentle tone. How about some coffee and a chat? No need to get so worked up. I rolled my eyes, scanning the invaded farm. Cars parked all over the field I'd prepped for planting. People acting like they owned the place, staring at me like I was the troublemaker. A wave of frustration burned in my chest. You've got exactly 90 minutes, I declared, my tone harder than ever. After that, I'm calling the sheriff, the local paper, and every tow company in this county. I turned and marched back to the house, ignoring Vesper's threats echoing behind me. Inside, my hands shook with rage, nearly dropped the phone as I dialed. County Records Office, a friendly voice answered on the other end. This is Zephyr Colton, from the old Colton farm just outside Emberfall Bluffs. I need to check if there's any contract or agreement tied to my land. It's urgent. What time do you close today? The voice came back. Can you come in now? I glanced at the clock. 8:45 in the morning. I'll be there in 15 minutes. Grabbing my keys, I looked out the window. Instead of clearing out, more cars were rolling in. Vesper was directing a pickup truck to park right up against the potato rows I'd tended for 3 months. She looked up toward my house, flashing a wicked grin. This wasn't about parking anymore. This was war. The county records office was quiet on a Saturday morning, with just 3 staffers working the weekend shift. An older man looked up as I shoved the door open, breathing hard. I'm Zephyr Colton. I just called about the records for the Colton farm. He nodded and reached out to shake my hand. Peregrine Drayton. Been here 25 years. I knew your grandfather. That caught me off guard. Really? Old man Colton was one of a kind, Peregrine said, a faint smile crossing his lips. Sharp as a tack, especially when it came to protecting what was his. I nodded, pride swelling inside me. That's right. Peregrine gave an approving grunt. Drove them nuts. One time, they even tried claiming it was a public nuisance to seize it. My stomach tightened, a familiar feeling creeping in. Sounds a lot like what's happening now. Peregrine pulled a few thick folders from the cabinet. Let's see here. Deeds, tax records, building permits. He spread them across the table, slipped on his glasses, and started digging in. After 30 minutes of sifting, Peregrine leaned back. Just as I figured. No contract allows parking or public access on your land. Not a single document shows your grandfather ever agreed to let the HOA use it. I let out a breath, relief washing over me. So they're definitely trespassing. No doubt about it, Peregrine confirmed. But there's something else here. Pretty interesting stuff. He pulled out a yellowed sheet of paper. Your grandfather signed a deal with the power company 35 years ago. It let them run electrical infrastructure through the southeast corner of your land. I leaned forward, my heart picking up speed. What does that mean? Peregrine handed me a faded map. According to this, the main transformer powering Emberfall Bluffs? It's on your property. Your grandfather worked that out when the neighborhood was first built. The power company pays you $750 a year to keep it there. I stared at him, my mind racing. You mean What I'm thinking? Peregrine grinned, a spark in his eyes. The HOA's entire community runs on power crossing your land. Legally, you control access to that transformer. Could they move it? I asked, hope and worry mixing together. Not easily, Peregrine said. It'd cost tens of thousands of dollars, need county approval, new permits, and could mean long service outages. Plus, they'd need your sign-off to end the current deal. My head spun with a dozen thoughts. What about that money? I've never seen a dime from the power company. Peregrine tapped away at his computer. The payments have been going into a trust account under your grandfather's name since he passed. It's been piling up. You should contact Thornfield Power to update the payment details. I left the county records office with a stack of copies in hand, my pulse pounding from a mix of anger and excitement. On the drive home, I called Thornfield Power's emergency line. This is Zephyr Colton, owner of the land with transformer T387. I need to speak to someone right now about unauthorized access to that equipment. After 2 transfers, I got through to the operations manager. Colton, I'm Milo Kendrick. What's the issue? Someone from the Emberfall Bluffs HOA is claiming rights to my land, I explained, my voice tight. I'm worried about people messing with the transformer without permission. It's a serious safety concern. Milo replied, that station powers over 300 homes in the area. Only authorized personnel can go near it. That's exactly what I'm worried about, I said. I'm installing security cameras today and want to confirm who's legally allowed access. Just Thornfield Power technicians with official IDs, Milo assured me. I'll email you our maintenance schedule so you know when our crew's coming by. Perfect. When I pulled into my driveway, a plan was taking shape in my mind. To my surprise, most of the cars on my field were gone. Only 5 remained, along with deep tire ruts and flattened crops. I walked over to check the damage to my potato rows, snapping pictures with my phone. Plenty of plants were completely crushed, months of work and future income wiped out. Back inside, I printed the county documents and organized them into a folder. Then I dug out the old land surveys my grandfather left behind, detailing boundaries and landmarks. Just as I finished, a knock rattled the door. Vesper stood there with Soren Hadley, the HOA lawyer. 2 others lingered behind, a stern-faced middle-aged man and a young woman clutching a clipboard. Colton, Vesper started, her voice dripping with fake sweetness. We brought the parking agreement for you to sign, just a formality. I stared at her for a long moment, resentment bubbling up. I want every car off my land by the end of the day, and I'm demanding compensation for the crop damage. Soren stepped forward. That's not how this works. The HOA board voted this area as community property. We're just asking for your cooperation. And if I don't cooperate? The middle-aged man spoke up. I'm Lennox Faraday, city council member. This community pays big taxes to the city. Surely we can find a reasonable win-win here. The young woman with the clipboard shifted uncomfortably. An environmental impact study to expand parking in Emberfall Bluffs would take years. This really is the only practical option for community events. I smiled, a smile that seemed to unsettle them. I just got back from the county records office, I said, holding up my folder. There's no agreement letting you park on my land. Never has been. Vesper waved a hand, brushing it off. Old paperwork can be updated. I found something else interesting about your neighborhood's power, I went on, pulling out the electrical contract. The transformer feeding all of Emberfall Bluffs? It's on my land. Their faces shifted in an instant. Vesper's smile vanished. Soren tugged at his tie. Lennox took a small step back. I'm officially denying access for any non-essential maintenance until this is sorted out, I declared. I've already spoken to Thornfield Power about unauthorized people near their equipment. You can't do that, Vesper stammered, her voice cracking with panic. People have medical devices, refrigerators. I'm not cutting your power, I clarified. I'm just enforcing my property rights, the same way you're trying to steamroll my farm. Lennox cleared his throat. Let's not rush into anything. I'm sure we can work out a deal. I agree, I said, keeping my tone steady. Here's my offer. All cars off my land by 6 o'clock tonight, full compensation for my damaged crops, and a signed statement that my property isn't part of the HOA. And if we don't? Vesper challenged, though her voice had lost its edge. I held up the electrical contract. Then I'll exercise my right to deny routine maintenance access next week. Summer heat's coming. It'd be a shame if the system couldn't handle the load without proper upkeep. They scurried off, huddling together and whispering urgently as they headed to their cars. I watched through the window as they drove away, a mix of triumph and tension swirling inside me. This wasn't over. People like Vesper don't back down that easily. My phone buzzed. It was Milo from Thornfield Power. Colton, I heard there might be an access issue with station T387. Everything okay? I took a deep breath to steady myself. Just a misunderstanding with the local HOA. They think they've got rights to my land, which is worrying. Milo's voice came through the line. That transformer's critical infrastructure. Any access problems could disrupt service for hundreds of homes. I get it, I replied. I don't want anyone losing power. I just need the HOA to respect my ownership. Here's the plan, Milo offered. I'll come by Tuesday morning to inspect the transformer and talk about setting up the best access arrangement. Sometimes an official presence clears things up. I thanked him and hung up, feeling a slight wave of relief, but it didn't last long. Through the window, I saw Vesper's car rolling back in, trailed by 4 police cruisers with flashing lights. This fight wasn't over. It was just getting started. I watched Vesper and Soren standing on my porch, clutching their parking agreement. Their smugness made my blood boil, but I kept my voice firm. I'm not signing anything, I stated. In fact, you've got 36 hours to get every car off my land and pay for all the damage to my fields. Soren stepped forward, his fancy suit rustling. That's not how this works. The HOA board voted, and I just found something very interesting about your neighborhood's power, I cut in, pulling the contract from the folder in my hand. The transformer feeding all of Emberfall Bluffs? It's on my land. Their expressions shifted so fast it was almost comical. Vesper's smile evaporated completely. Soren straightened up, visibly rattled. No way, Vesper whispered, snatching the papers from my hand. Go ahead and check. My grandfather signed this deal ages ago. The power company pays me every year to access the transformer, the one lighting up every house in Emberfall Bluffs. Soren smoothed his tie, trying to stay cool. That's got nothing to do with the parking issue. No, it changes everything, I pressed on. I'm officially pulling access for non-essential maintenance until this parking mess is resolved. I've already talked to Thornfield Power about it. You can't do that, Vesper yelled, her face flushing red with fury. People have medical equipment. Kids. Elderly folks. Let me say it again. I'm not cutting your power, I said firmly, taking the documents back. I'm just enforcing my property rights, the same way you're trying to strong-arm my farm. Funny how that works, isn't it? Vesper had her phone out before they even got back to the car. I could hear her shouting at someone as they peeled out. Less than 45 minutes later, my phone started buzzing nonstop, calls from different HOA board members. I didn't pick up a single one. Instead, I dialed Thornfield Power's legal department straight away, confirming my rights under the contract. They agreed to notify me ahead of time if any non-emergency work involved the transformer. By dinner time, cars started clearing out of my field. I watched from the kitchen window as drivers scrambled to move, a few glancing nervously toward my house. By nightfall, my land was empty. The next morning, I was up early to survey the damage. Tire tracks had torn up a huge chunk of the south field, flattening young plants and compacting soil I'd prepped for 4 months. I snapped photos and recorded video, documenting it all carefully. Just as I finished, I spotted Lyra, my friendly neighbor from Emberfall Bluffs, walking her dog along the fence line. Morning, she called out cheerfully. There was an emergency HOA meeting last night. I've never seen Vesper that mad. I walked over to chat. What happened? She tried convincing everyone you threatened to cut our power, but old Percival, he used to be a lawyer, pointed out that if the transformer's really on your land and we've been parking there without permission, we could be in serious legal trouble. Lyra lowered her voice. Half the board wanted to back off right then. The other half? Vesper's got them convinced you're bluffing. She said no one would risk the bad press of looking like they're threatening a whole neighborhood's electricity. Lyra hesitated. Watch yourself, though. She mentioned there are other ways to deal with difficult neighbors. I thanked Lyra for the heads up and spent the morning calling fencing companies to fix the sections wrecked by the cars. The soonest I could book was 3 weeks out. That afternoon, while reviewing repair quotes, I heard the mail truck roll by. At the mailbox, I found a certified letter with the Emberfall Bluffs HOA logo. Inside was an official notice fining me $7,500 for unauthorized landscape alterations and agricultural activity violating community aesthetic standards. It demanded I remove all farming equipment from view of community roads within 48 hours and stop all commercial farming, or face an extra $700 per day. At the bottom was Vesper's signature with a handwritten note. Maybe now you'll reconsider our generous parking offer. I read the letter 4 times, my hands clenching with rage. Then I noticed something odd. The The letterhead listed my land's address as part of Emberfall Bluffs. I called Peregrine Drayton at the county records office right away. They can't fine you if you're not a member, he confirmed after I explained. But be careful. I've seen HOAs like this before. They'll try to wear you down. What should I do? I asked, my stomach tight with worry. Document everything, set up security cameras, and maybe reach out to Soren Haverly. He's a lawyer who specializes in overreaching HOAs. Last year, he handled a similar case in Stonehaven. I thanked him and immediately ordered security cameras online. While checking out, I noticed an email notification. Thornfield Power had just deposited this year's contract payment into my account. An idea started forming in my head. I looked up Soren Haverly's number and left a voicemail explaining the situation. Then I stepped outside to check out the transformer on my land. That little green box I'd never paid much attention to before, now suddenly a big deal. As I got closer, I spotted fresh footprints in the mud around it. Someone had been here. The control panel was cracked open just a bit. "There he is," Vesper shouted, pointing at me standing near the transformer. "He just tampered with it." I stood frozen by my transformer, heart pounding, as Vesper waved her arms and yelled at a power company worker. She was trying to pin this on me. "I just got out here," I told the worker, keeping my voice steady. "The panel was already open. Check the camera in my barn if you don't believe me." The worker, his name tag read Jasper, looked confused. "Ma'am, we haven't had any reports of tampering. Check it," Vesper demanded, her voice tight with stress. "He threatened to cut our power yesterday." Jasper stepped up to the transformer, inspecting the panel carefully. "This has definitely been messed with. The access lock's broken." He turned to me, suspicion in his eyes. "Sir, did you do this?" "Absolutely not," I said. "I just found it like this and was about to report it. My camera will show I was inside all morning until 10 minutes ago." "Real convenient. You've got a camera," Vesper sneered. "Where are they? I don't see any." "They're going up tomorrow," I admitted, "but I had nothing to do with this." I paused, a thought clicking into place. "Jasper, when's the last time an official Thornfield power crew checked this transformer?" "According to our records, it's been at least 4 months," Jasper said, glancing at his tablet. I turned to Vesper. "How'd you know the panel was open? You drove right up and pointed straight at it." Her face went red. I saw it this morning when I trespassed on my own land," I finished for her, "or when someone you sent out here broke the lock." Jasper glanced between us, clearly uneasy. "I'll have to file a report on this." "Do it," I said, "and I want a copy, plus confirmation that no one from Emberfall Bluffs has access rights to this equipment." Vesper stormed back to her SUV without another word, her steps quick and sharp. Jasper took 45 minutes to secure the transformer and photograph the scene. He handed me his business card and promised his manager would call me tonight. Soren Haverly called me back. After hearing the whole story, he agreed to take my case. "This is classic HOA overreach," he said. "They target properties they want to control, especially ones that don't fit their aesthetic vision. Good news is, you've got leverage with that transformer contract." 10 days passed without incident. I filed an official complaint for trespassing and vandalism, installed the security cameras, and started working with Soren on a cease and desist letter for the HOA. Then, on Monday morning, my alarm system jolted me awake at 5:15. The security app on my phone showed movement at the west fence. I rubbed my eyes, hardly believing what I saw. Someone was using bolt cutters to tear through my newly repaired fence. I called the county sheriff right away and rushed outside, phone in hand, recording. By the time I got there, 4 sections of fence were ripped open, and a line of cars was rolling onto my field. "This is private property," I shouted, still filming. "You're trespassing." A woman in the lead car rolled down her window. "The HOA gave us permission. Check your email if you don't believe me." One by one, the drivers showed me the same email from Vesper, authorizing them to park in the community overflow lot on my land. It claimed the dispute had been officially resolved. When Sheriff Ballard arrived 25 minutes later, 15 cars were parked on my property. He looked uneasy as I showed him the video of the fence being cut. "I'm sorry, but I can't do much right now," he explained after talking to a few drivers. "The HOA filed paperwork with the county showing this area is designated as a community parking zone." "What paperwork?" "That's forged," I protested, pulling up my deed on my phone for him to see. "Listen," he sighed, "this is turning into a civil dispute. You've got your claim, they've got their documents. Take it to court. I can't tow everyone's cars based on your word against the HOAs." After he left, I called Soren, who promised to file for an emergency injunction that day. But courts move slow, and in the meantime, more cars kept showing up. Beyond frustrated, I walked over to Lyra's place. She's always been straight with me. Lyra invited me in for coffee, her face etched with worry. "I need to show you something," she said as we sat at her kitchen table. She pulled out her tablet. "I'm on the HOA email list. What they're doing isn't right." She opened her inbox and showed me a string of messages between Vesper, Soren, and other board members. They were plotting strategies to annex my farm and force me into compliance with escalating pressure. "Keep going," Lyra said, her voice heavy. The next email stopped me cold. A scanned document with a signature that looked like my grandfather's on an HOA agreement from 12 years back. "That's fake," I whispered, outrage flooding me. "My grandfather never signed this." "I thought so too," Lyra said. "Look at the date. May of 2013. Was your grandfather still the owner then?" "Yeah, until he passed 5 years ago, but that's not his signature. I've seen enough of his documents to know for sure." Lyra nodded. "I had a hunch. Vesper's husband works at a printing company. He's got the gear to whip something like this up easy." She scrolled to another email sent just yesterday. "It gets worse. They're holding an emergency board meeting tonight at 8. Special guest, Vesper's cousin, who works for Thornfield Power. They're plotting a permanent fix for the transformer issue." "What do you mean?" I asked, though I could already sense the bad news coming. "They want to reroute the power to bypass your land entirely. Her cousin says it's pricey but doable. Once that happens, you lose your leverage." I sat there, stunned by how far they were willing to go. "Why are you showing me this? Aren't you worried about getting tangled up in it?" Lyra sighed. "I bought my place here because it's right next to your fields. I love looking out at the open land, the crops, not another cookie-cutter house. They've been forcing everything to fit their perfect community vision for years now." My phone buzzed with a text from Torrin Haverly. "Judge Lennox greenlit an emergency hearing for 10:30 tomorrow morning. Bring all your documents." I showed Lyra the message. "Would you testify about these emails if it comes to that?" She hesitated for a moment, then nodded. "Yeah, this has gone way too far." On my way home, I noticed the Thornfield Power truck parked near my property line. Vesper's cousin was already moving. I had less than 18 hours to stop them. Inside, I gathered every piece of evidence I had: deed, power contract, damage photos, security footage, everything. Then I made one more call, this time to the local news station. "I've got a story about HOA corruption, forged documents, and property rights," I told the reporter. "It'll all come out at tonight's public meeting." My heart pounded as I stood outside the packed community center. Through the window, I saw Vesper gesturing wildly, pointing at blown-up photos of my farm, now labeled with parking lots and walkways. People nodded along, completely sold on her lies. I gripped my folder of proof, took a deep breath, and pushed the door open. The room went dead silent as I stepped in. Vesper froze mid-sentence, her mouth hanging open like she'd just swallowed a fly. "Well, look who's here," she said, regaining her composure with a sarcastic edge. "We're discussing community improvements for what, I hear you call it, your farm." A few people snickered. My face burned with anger, but I marched straight to the front. "Actually, I'm glad you're all here," I said loudly, my voice steady with resolve. "There's something everyone needs to know about what your HOA leadership's doing with your money and your trust." Vesper lunged toward me. "He's trespassing. Someone call security." An older man in the front row stood up. "Let him speak, Vesper. I want to hear what he's got." Several others nodded in agreement. Vesper's perfect smile started to crack. "Fine," she snapped. "You've got 3 minutes." I hooked my laptop to the projector, talking as I set it up. "I think you'll want to give me more than 3 minutes once you see this." The first slide popped up, a copy of my deed and a survey map showing clear boundaries. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. "As you can see, my farm's never been part of Emberfall Bluffs. I've never signed anything with the HOA." I clicked to the next slide, the forged document with my grandfather's supposed signature that Lyra had uncovered. "This is a fake your board cooked up. My grandfather passed away 5 years ago, but this paper's dated 8 months back." The room erupted in chaos. Vesper darted for my laptop, but I yanked it out of reach. "He's making it up!" she shrieked, her face flushed with panic. "This troublemaker's been breaking our rules since he moved in." I calmly clicked to the next slide, an email chain between Vesper and Soren Hadley, plotting to force my compliance with escalating pressure and make him miserable until he gives in. "These are internal HOA emails," I explained, laying out a plan to harass me off my own land. And this one shows Vesper approving $45,000 of your dues to hire legal consultants to seize my property. The room erupted with angry noise. People jumped up, pointing at Vesper and the board members seated at the front table. "Where'd you get that?" Soren Hadley demanded, his lawyer cool, now tinged with worry. "That doesn't matter," I shot back. "What matters is, your leadership's been lying to everyone here." A woman stood up from the back. "Last month, my husband and I got fined $750 for growing veggies too visibly in our yard, and you're spending our money on this?" Others chimed in with similar stories. The room grew louder by the second. Vesper grabbed the mic. "Everyone, calm down. This is a complex legal issue you wouldn't understand. We're acting in the community's best interest." I clicked to the final slide, county records of the power contract. "One last thing you all need to know," I said loudly, cutting through the noise. "The main transformer powering your entire community, it's on my land. Your homes have electricity because my grandfather let the power company set it up there." The room fell completely silent. "Is that true?" someone called out, breaking the stillness. 100%, I replied. "I've confirmed it with the county records office in Thornfield Power. I don't want to mess with your electricity. I just want to run my farm in peace." Quillen, a silver-haired man I recognized from the edge of the neighborhood, stood up. "I've had enough. Vesper, is this what he's saying? Have you been deceiving us?" Vesper froze, her face twisting with rage. "This meeting's over. Everyone out now. Not until we get answers," Lyra shouted from the back. Soren leaned in to whisper something to Vesper. She shoved him away. "I don't care about legal fallout," she yelled, loud enough for everyone to hear. "I've worked too hard for some farmer to ruin it all." The crowd gasped. Vesper realized her mistake too late. I mean, she stammered, but people were already firing questions. "Who else have you targeted? What else are you spending our money on? Did you really forge documents?" Vesper snatched her purse and bolted for the side door. "Meeting's postponed. The board will issue a statement tomorrow." Quillen blocked her path. "No, Vesper, I think we need a vote right now. Who's in favor of suspending the current board for an investigation? Raise your hands." Nearly every hand in the room shot up. Vesper's face went from red to purple. "You can't do that. It's against the bylaws." "Actually," I said quietly, "your bylaws allow emergency removal of board members for suspected financial misconduct. Article 9, Section 6. Vesper glared at me with pure hatred. Then she reached into her bag, pulled out her phone, and dialed while staring right at me. "Do it now," she said clearly. "All of it." 5 seconds later, the lights went out. Emergency bulbs flickered on, illuminating confused faces. Vesper's laugh echoed in the dark. "See what happens when you challenge me? Your precious farm controls our power. Let's see how you like—" Her words cut off as police sirens wailed in the distance. Shouts filled the darkened room. My phone lit up. Thornfield Power calling. "Hello?" "Yeah, I'm at the HOA meeting right now," I answered loudly. The room hushed. I put it on speaker. "Colton, we caught a woman in a blazer tampering with your transformer. Our cameras got it all. Police are on the way." Vesper's face went pale. "He's lying," she screamed, but residents circled her, phones up, recording. "You tried cutting the power to frame me?" I asked, stunned by how far she'd go. The doors swung open as officers stepped in with flashlights. Soren tried slipping out the back but ran straight into Sheriff Ballard. News vans pulled up outside. Lyra had tipped them off earlier, just in case. 3 weeks later, I watched Vesper and Soren on TV, charged with forgery, trespassing, and attempted sabotage. My farm's now known around here as the HOA Fighters Victory Garden. The new HOA president, Quillen, met me at the fence. "We voted to help restore your damaged crops. Maybe we should work together instead of butting heads." I smiled and shook his hand. "I'm in." Sometimes good neighbors just need good fences and clear boundaries. I've always been drawn to stories of people standing up for what's right, and Zephyr Colton's journey is a blazing light in the darkness of injustice. In today's world, where power can sometimes silence the individual, from land disputes to manipulation by interest groups, we see the true value of courage and truth. Through this tale, there's a lesson we can take away. Don't bow to pressure. Use knowledge, the law, and persistence to claim what's fair. This is just an entertaining and educational story. No intent to slander or offend anyone, any individual, or any organization. What do you think of Zephyr's spirit? Leave a comment below with your feelings and thoughts. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to spread these inspiring stories together. Thanks for watching this video all the way through. Wishing you a peaceful day, and I'll see you in the next one.